Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Sammy George, and today we are talking about Seint Beauty, how to get your very own customized makeup palette. We'll do an initial application to get a beginner started, and we're gonna talk a little bit about why this makeup is truly magical for mature skin or someone like me who is dealing with all sorts of skin concerns as they are aging. So thank you so much for being here. Please like and subscribe. And let's do this. So if you are new to Seint, here's what I have to tell you. The beauty of Seint is a couple different things. One, it is a customized makeup system to your needs, both the colors that would be kind of your preference and how you like to wear your makeup. And you can use the same products to wear your makeup in different ways. So you no longer have to worry about the big old messy makeup bag or having a BB cream for the summer and then, a liquid foundation that gives you more coverage when you want to go to a wedding. Everything is right here in your one customized palette, and it's built for you in the shades that your skin needs by me, your Seint artist. And I will also help you put together a basic routine that will meet your needs on the daily. And let's not lie, a makeup palette this big that has it all was a game changer for me. So I found this makeup over 2 years ago because I had skin concerns that I had never had before. So I am 40 years old, and when I hit about 35, which was a year after my last child was born, I developed hormonal acne, hyperpigmentation, deeper under eye darkness than I had ever had before. And what I was using, quite frankly, wasn't working. So my whole life I had used powder. I was one of those really lucky kids who did not have a lot of acne. It's all coming now, so I guess we all take our turn. But once powder was no longer working because it wasn't giving me the coverage that I wanted, then I moved on to liquid foundation. And while liquid foundation did do a pretty good job for coverage, where I really struggled was with how it made my skin feel. So if you're familiar, powder and liquid are both products that are essentially water-based, and our skin goes through something daily called transepidermal water loss, which means the natural water of our skin and the water in those products evaporates throughout the day. So what we're left with is drier skin than when we started the day and the pigment from the product. So if you've ever felt like you've worn liquid foundation or powder and you notice throughout the day it feels heavier or it's starting to crack, it kind of dries down, if you will, that's because of that water loss that occurs throughout the day. So when I was wearing liquid foundation, while it was giving me good coverage, it felt heavier than I wanted, and it actually made me feel like I looked older as it settled into my fine lines and wrinkles, which were also starting to become abundant at about that time, both under my eyes, in between my brows, crow's feet, all of the places. So I saw somebody online wearing cream makeup, and I was like, what is that all about? And the biggest thing that I have come to learn in my 2 years of wearing the makeup is that cream makeup is so wonderful for mature skin because this makeup in particular is customized to your needs, but it doesn't dry down. So cream makeup is not a water-based product. It actually acts as a second skin, allowing the water that we naturally have during the day to hold into the skin. So you're not getting all of those fine lines and wrinkles that are starting to crack throughout the day. You're actually holding the moisture of your skin in because cream acts as a second skin, almost like a barrier to the outside elements. And it allows you to get buildable coverage. So cream makeup can be worn super light or be built up all the way to full coverage. And because it doesn't dry down, you can use the same products all throughout the day. If you want to touch up your makeup, or let's say you're running somewhere and later that night you're like, okay, I just needed something easy this morning and now I want to go a little bit more glam. Because it doesn't have that drying down effect, it's easy to work with all throughout the day. So you really only need everything that comes in this one palette. It's truly magical. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about that as we do application here in a little bit. But I'm going to tell you how you get started, and then I'm going to walk you through kind of what it actually looks like to do an initial application. Because if you're anything like me, maybe you've seen this makeup going viral on the internet because beauty magazines and all of those things have now realized that cream makeup is where it's at for mature skin. So maybe you're curious, like, okay, I've seen this. What is it all about? Honestly, the beauty of it is that as an artist for Seint, I will create a customized palette and a customized routine for you based on what you tell me are your skin concerns and your makeup desires. And we do that through a color match, which you'll see is linked up in the banner here on my page, or you can always just comment below that you'd like a color match and I'll be happy to reach out and send you the link. But in that color match, what you're gonna do is you're gonna share any skin concerns you have. Do you have acne concerns, hyperpigmentation, dark under eyes, what type of coverage that you like? Like on the daily, I like a really natural looking coverage, okay? So I wear my makeup pretty light to medium, but if I'm going to a wedding or I have an event, I definitely want to build it up to get something a little bit more glam. But we'll start with a routine that's customized to what you like every day, and then I can teach you the tips and tricks to use the same products that you have to get a different look, and you can use just this one palette. So you'll share with me all of those things, and in return, I will provide you with an abundance of information. I'm definitely a little type A, so you will find more information that you could ever need on what are my colors, where do I apply them, and most importantly, why do I apply them? So that once you actually learn the basics of getting started, you'll know how to tweak your makeup to get the finish that you want on any given day, because I don't know about you, this is what my skin looks like today. But tomorrow, it may be a little more red, a little less red. I might get a little bit more sun. And if you have sunspots or hyperpigmentation, rosacea, you know that when you get more sun, some of these imperfections, we'll call them, become more pronounced. So you'll be able to tweak your makeup on the daily based on what you see when you look in the mirror. But we start that process with a color match. And in return, when I send you back that email, not only is it a step-by-step application, so you can print it out, and then when your makeup arrives, you can follow it step by step, but I'm also gonna provide you a face map. So in the color match request form, after you answer the questions about how you like to wear your makeup and what your skin concerns are, you're gonna face a window just like I am right now in natural light with no makeup on, and you're gonna snap that beautiful makeup-free selfie and you're gonna attach it at the bottom. Some key tips to get the best selfie, because here's the thing, the selfie is the key to the perfect color match. I need to be able to see what your skin looks like in natural lighting to actually be able to see the tones and the concerns that you may be sharing in your color match. So I want you to stand inside your house. People like to send car selfies, but we can't do it out of a car. It looks different in a car than it will in front of this window. So either do it in front of a window or a sliding glass door. Pull back the blinds and the curtains and stand about 3 feet back. You want to make sure that there's no direct sunlight on your face. Also, no overhead lighting. If you have overhead lighting, it will cast shadows on the face, and then we can't get you that perfect match because I can't see your true tones. But once you upload that selfie, I'm gonna take a screenshot of it, and I'm gonna map out where you need your specific colors. Because what I have found is the magic of this makeup is the order in which you apply and addressing the concerns that you see first. I will map out on your selfie what I see is your color correction needs, if you have any. And it'll most likely align with what you've told me are your concerns in your color match because you are the master of your face. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna map out where you need a color corrector, and then you're gonna follow that step-by-step guide. It's the same as I teach in all of my tutorials, so there's really good continuity, both in this one here, if you follow me over on Instagram at SamiGeorge_, or in any of my shorts that you'll see here on YouTube. We follow the same kind of step-by-step process almost all the time, because what I found after using the makeup for 2 years is that the order of operations is what really gives you the best coverage and longevity. And I don't know about you, but if I'm gonna do my makeup in the morning, I want it to last and I want it to take care of the concerns that I have. So once you get your color match back, of course, if you have any questions, you can just reach out. But let's say you're ready to rock and roll and you make your purchase and now your beautiful new makeup shows up. And then you see that it comes in these tins. And while this looks like a small tin, this makeup is highly pigmented. So this for me is my color corrector shade. And for me, as somebody who does makeup tutorials, I can use my color corrector for about 4 to 6 months. For somebody who's not doing makeup as often as I am, it's probably longer. The shade that's most likely to run out first is gonna be your main shade, which is the second one that you apply. And for most people, that's a 2 to 4 month use of the product. And the beauty of this is, while these tins are small, because they're highly pigmented and they are cream, you will use every last drop. There is no waste with this makeup. You can even melt it down as it starts to like only be left around the corners. You can melt it down so that you can use every single drop of your makeup. And guess what? these are customized. So when I say they are customized to you, your shades are picked out specifically for your concerns and they are magnetized. So you don't have to worry about buying one preset palette. And the same goes for eyeshadows. You can just get what you want. All of our products are magnetized to fit in to your palette so that when you run out of one, you just pop out the one shade that you need. And this is my color corrector. You'll see that it's magnetized. So I put it in first because it's the first in your color match. It's the first in your step-by-step because it's where we start first with our order of operations. But since these are magnetized, you only purchase what you need when you need it, and they're only $16 a piece. So while you might make a larger investment up front to get kind of the 3D foundation look that Seint is known for, once you go through one tin, your individual purchase is only $16. And what I want you to do is I want you to keep one of these lids. Okay, so these are really beautiful, aren't they? But what it does is it has this edge on it, and this edge allows you to pop out your product really seamlessly. So you just pop it open with this, you put the new one in, and you're good to go. So I'm gonna walk you through. This is a great video for beginners, and if you are one of my customers, this is exactly what your color match looks like. I tend to put the order of operations together the same every time because, like I said, I want the best longevity for myself and for my customers, so we're always gonna start with our color corrector. Color corrector is used to take care of the skin concerns that you see, the hyperpigmentation, the sunspots that I have, the darkness under my eyes, the purpling on my lids, broken capillaries, my acne, and it would be the same for you. So you would start with your color corrector and you would pop that in first. And here's why I tell you to follow this process that I'm laying out for you here. There is no name on the front of your product. The name is on the back. And while it looks beautiful, sometimes that's unhelpful when you actually need to be like, okay, Sami told me to start with my color corrector, but I can't remember what shade that is. First, your color corrector will always be the darkest one. To have the best success with this makeup, you want to use the darkest color to match the darkest colors of your skin first. When we take care of the dark color first, everything else lasts longer, and you'll see what I'm talking about as we get started. The next shade that I'm going to pop in is my main shade. So I took off the lid. This is magnetized. I pop it right into my palette. And what's going to happen here is you're going to see that this one is not as dark, but it is much closer to my natural skin tone. I will color match you so that the combination of these two products is what actually matches your skin. So when you're looking through your color match, if you're like, oh, I don't know if I want this one or this one, keep in mind that there is a method to my madness, and making sure that you purchase the 3D foundation colors and use them in the order in which they're recommended is what's going to give you the best longevity and the best look of your overall makeup. So after we have our main shade, the next thing that we will apply is our contour. And while I know that contour scares a lot of people, contour is what gives us dimension to our face. Your contour is going to act like something that naturally enhances your shadows. The area that we naturally have shadows is around the forehead, underneath the cheekbone. We're going to carve out that jawline so we have a nice sculpted jawline, and then you can use it to create a slimmer or a more wide nose, and even underneath the lip to create a larger lip. Because what 3D foundation does is it creates kind of the game of light and dark on our face. As we age, we start to lose some of that like natural deviation that we have in our skin, and you don't have, as pronounced of cheekbones as you used to. But when you play the game of light and dark, you can create the most natural looking finish and a youthful, glowing skin-like finish with these colors here. The last color that is a part of your actual color match for your 3D foundation is your brightener. And in the traditional makeup world, this is what you're used to calling a concealer. And this is the area that we want to create brightness to the face. So these colors right here are what make up your actual 3D foundation. And here's what's really awesome. All of these provide coverage. So unlike a liquid or a powder, where you're typically putting that all over your face, and then coming in and adding your contour back in, and then adding blush on top of that, a concealer on top of that, we only put these products where they are needed. And here's where the learning curve comes in, because this is something different. And it took me a little bit of time to actually train myself to think while I was doing my makeup. I had been used to just kind of rolling through my makeup, having a meh finish at the end and thinking that was as good as it could get. But when I found Seint, I did have to learn something new. And what I had to learn was how to look at my face and only put the products where they are needed. And that's what your color match will do for you, is it will actually guide you as to where the products are needed based on what you told me is your ideal finish for your makeup and the skin concerns that you have. So once you pop in your actual 3D foundation, Now you can get into some of the fun parts. So here's how I like to finish off my makeup and what I highly recommend that other people do as well, because this is how I think you get a really finished look. Well, this is your foundation right here. And I know you're like, 4 colors for foundation. Trust the process, you have to watch. Here's where it gets fun. Now we're gonna talk about bronzer, and I'm just gonna teach you a little trick. I like to put my bronzer in the corner. Bronzer is the creamiest product in your palette, and I like to really swirl into my bronzer where everything else I strategically tap. And I'm gonna show you that here in a minute. But what that means is that sometimes I get bronzer around the edge. So if I put it too close to my other like foundation colors, sometimes I'll notice that I get a little ring of bronzer. So just a little pro tip for you, put your bronzer in a corner. The next thing that you're gonna add is a lip and cheek. And I like to pop mine in here. Our products are all super versatile. And you'll see this as you start using your makeup, that you can use these colors on your eyes. You can use them as your true foundation. You may even want to use your contour a little bit like a bronzer one day. Because everything in this palette is the same medium, meaning it's all cream makeup, it can be used in any way in which you want. So all of our blushes are also lip products. So we call them lip and cheeks. And I definitely like multiple lip and cheek colors. And while a lot of my clients ask me like, okay, what would be the best lip and cheek color for me? I will definitely make a recommendation based on what you tell me in your color match is what you're drawn to, but I will also provide you a full set of arm swatches so that you can really just pick the colors that call to you. Like, as an artist, I think before I even became an artist, I had every lip and cheek that Seint offered, because lip and cheek for me is the funnest part. And I wasn't even wearing blush when I started using this makeup. And then I realized that adding a pop of color back in to the cheek area is what really gave me like that final like youthful lookingness to my face. The last thing that I'm gonna add in here is my illuminator. So if you are used to traditional makeup, you are used to calling an illuminator a highlighter. This is definitely an optional step, but if you like all the glow, and here's the thing, cream makeup is going to give you all of the glow because it doesn't dry down. It is emollient, so it will continue to shine and make your skin look youthful and skin-like throughout the day, but an illuminator will take that to the next level, and I'll show you how to use it here in a little bit. So this is kind of one of the levels of my palette. On the other level, I definitely, because I like all the things, have thrown in some product extras that I love. This is my brow wax. This is suede lip liner, which is a cream product, so I also use it sometimes as my bronzer, or I use it on my eyes. This is our balm, which I love, and then I threw a couple of eyeshadows, vanilla dust setting powder, and the brush cleaning tile so that you can do your eyeshadow look with one brush. So this is my palette. I also have a bigger one because I love all the things. If you want to start small and grow into your makeup, you absolutely can. You can start with a basic palette 4, which would just be like your foundation system, or you can use a palette 12, which would be 2 layers, 6 on each layer, and you can have it set up any way that you like. Because this is customized to you, I will make a recommendation on what like a full 3D match looks like, but it's up to you to decide, what do you want? What do you need? What do you like? And if you're planning on using this in combination with other makeup that you have, so be it. For me personally, the fact that all of this is right here and can be thrown into my car with one brush for the days where, I don't know what your mornings look like, but mine change very rapidly based on what my kids need from me that day. I love the fact that this can go with me. And just an aside, it's TSA approved. So if you're somebody who travels, this can go with you on your carry-on. It can go right into your luggage. No concerns there. So let's talk initial application. Since we have built our palette in the order in which I'm going to show you today that matches your color match, let's just do it. I typically recommend 2 brushes for all of my new customers. And both of your brushes will look like this. Seint, okay, so this is my brush that I bought when I started using Seint like 2.5 years ago. They have since changed their brushes to this really sleek, like silver design. So all of your brushes will look like this. But here's the thing. The brushes last forever, so I haven't bought a new one because I have literally been able to use this since I started using my makeup over 2 years ago. Our brushes are double-ended, so they are incredibly versatile. I recommend these 2. This is the blush and bronzer brush. This is the detail brush, because you can get essentially any look that you want from light coverage to full coverage with just these 2 brushes. This is the ideal brush for contouring. This is a great brush for detail work, so you can do everything that you need with these 2. And then I will absolutely swear by, our perfector sponge. So in addition to your one palette makeup, here are the tools that I think that you really need in order to have an effective makeup application. If you want to try the makeup with the brushes that you already have, you are welcome to. This is your makeup, you do what you want. But I will tell you that the tools matter, and think about it like painting a house, okay? So if you were going to paint your house, you wouldn't just get the paint, you would also talk to the people about what were the best tools to get the best look for your house. It's the same thing with makeup, and not all brushes are created for the same sort of medium. These are specifically created for creams, and this guy is created for removing excess cream, not for applying liquid, and there is a difference. The density of this, and then we make sure that we prepare it in a certain way, and I will share that with you here in a moment. But this is the Getting Started kit. If you decide that you want to work with Sami, here's everything that I'm going to recommend for you as a starter. And then when you fall in love, because I know you will, all of my clients do, then you can come back and build it up and you can become somebody who gets the triple layers. This is a double. It also comes in a triple. I just dropped my perfector sponge and it rolled all the way across the floor. So we're going to have to go get that when we get to that step. Let's do it. So you guys, we are going to start with color correction. Color correction and the detail brush. I'm going to start with the small end and I am just going to tap in ever so lightly. Here is the key. Less is more. So as you are getting started with this makeup, myself included, the number one thing that people do is they apply too much because we are used to taking a liquid and really putting it over a huge portion of our face and then kind of moving that product around to create coverage and to spread it, where really we want to be strategic here. So I'm going to take this brush, I'm tapping it in really lightly, and now I'm looking at my face, or you can look at the color map that I provide for you and say like, okay, where is that discoloration? On your color match, your discoloration that you have shared or your areas of concern that need a color corrector will be marked in blue. So for those areas, I am going to buff this into the skin in the lightest layer. I'm going to take it one tap at a time, and I'm going to allow this cream to blend into those areas. And this motion right here is a buffing motion. It's a circular motion where I'm really working it in to the discoloration on the face. This is my broken capillaries. And this area here is where I have more pronounced hyperpigmentation and sunspots. So I'm just going to build up that coverage. Tap it under the eye where I have that blue and purple. And I'm moving the product around until I get the coverage that I like. And if you look, you can see the difference already between this area of my face here and this area here. And it really only takes that light hand. So tap it in. Now let's hit this scar on my nose. And you can buff it in or tap it in this first step, whatever you feel like gives you the best coverage of that discoloration. And noses are the most difficult part. The skin on our nose is a little bit different. So if you like to use your finger, you can absolutely do that and really just press that color corrector where you need it. Because this makeup doesn't dry down, the warmth of your finger will really warm that cream up on your face and allow you to get a really nice distribution of your product. If you want to cover a larger surface area, you're like, let's make it even quicker than what we're doing right now. And I mean, how much of a difference do we already see here? Take the small end of your blush and bronzer brush, tap it in one time, and really buff it into those areas of concern. So now I'm covering up the area that I have acne, the redness on my chin. I have a little bit of green around the mouth. And what I could do is spot treat this acne if I wanted to, but I'm going to take my finger and just press a little bit more onto the areas that are bothersome. My goal with what we're doing today, which is going to be kind of a light to medium coverage, is really just to neutralize the distractions, not to remove them completely. You can see this side of my face, the color correction is done. So now we'll quickly move on over here and we'll buff. Tapping, and I'm buffing into my areas of discoloration. And you would do the same on your face. Follow your color match until you get accustomed to looking at your own face. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to use that warmth for this area where I have increased hyperpigmentation. We were in the sun all weekend. We went glamping. And while I did use sunscreen, I still got quite a bit of color. And while we're talking about sunscreen, so this makeup is going to be different than a liquid foundation, you guys. You do not need a primer. And I know that may sound crazy, especially if you're coming from the liquid foundation world, but truly, primer is meant to prime your face for that product that's going to dry it down. This is not going to do that. So when you put something underneath the makeup, it may actually work against the cream makeup itself. If you are somebody that's like, I have to use a primer, you want to make sure that your primer is silicone free. Me, I use a serum and then I use a sunscreen every morning, and those are the only things that I put under my makeup unless I'm really, really dry, and then I will put a moisturizer and then my sunscreen. But all of the products that I put on my face are silicone free. So you want to check the back of your products. If you're not using a silicone free product, then you will get slippage. You will feel like your makeup is kind of sliding throughout the day. And if you need a recommendation on silicone-free sunscreens, moisturizers, primers, any of the things, you just let me know. And there we go. That is color correction. I am going to take the small end of my detail brush. I'm going to tap in once, and I am going to color correct my eyes. I have a lot of blue and purple in my lids. So while I am color correcting my face, I'm going to go right on in, and I'm going to color correct my eyes. And I'm also leaving this really, really light-handed here because I don't want it to crease into all of the wrinkles that I have. You'll see I have a hooded eye, so I have this area comes down onto the lid, so I will get creasing into this area if I'm not strategic. So I use a light hand of my color corrector, a light hand of my main shade, and then I'm gonna set it with a powder. So after we are done with color correction, and that is good for me for a light to medium coverage, I'm gonna go back to the blush and bronzer brush, and now we're gonna move on to our main shade. When we get to any shade after color correction, we're no longer gonna buff. Color correction was like a strategic placement. So you put your color corrector only where it's needed. Then you're gonna put your main shade on, and you're gonna press it on one tap at a time in this stippling motion. And it's gonna be the combination of your color corrector and your main shade that brings you to matching your actual skin tone. And you'll tell me if you like to match your neck, your chest, or if you like your face to be lighter or darker than those. So for me, it's the combination of my color corrector and this main shade that brings me back to matching my neck. And you'll see I didn't put any color corrector on my forehead except for these two scars, because I'm only putting my color corrector where it's needed, and now I'm only putting my main shade where it's needed. And where is your main shade needed? It's needed anywhere that you color correct. You can see I have a little bit of that darkness of that color corrector still popping through where we've started to kind of tone it down here. So we do want to cover up our color corrector. And for me, that's a large majority of my face, and it may be very different for you. I'm going to take this onto my broken capillaries and that tricky scar that I have here. I'm going to make sure that I got the blue and purple under my eye, so you can use the small end of your detail brush for this or your finger. But remember, after you put that initial color down, you only want to tap, stipple, pounce. We don't want to do this motion anymore because we don't want to move our color corrector. We put it where we put it to get the best longevity because we matched those darkest points first, so we want to keep it in place. Now I'm going to assess my face and think like, okay, is there anywhere else that I want coverage? For me, maybe I'll put a little bit of coverage on my forehead in this center area. But this makeup can be worn and should be worn only where it's needed. And since I don't desire a lot of coverage on my forehead because I don't have a lot of things that are concerning to me, I'm not going to bother putting any other foundation there. You can completely customize this to where you want to put your main foundation shade. Just make sure that you do cover up your color corrector. The other reason that I'm not going to put anything else around this area of my forehead is because that's where my contour is going to go. And if you remember, these 4 shades which make up your 3D foundation system, all provide coverage. So it's already gonna give me a little bit of coverage on the face, and since I don't have any other skin concerns there, I'm not gonna worry about any other coverage there. So we're gonna go from here, we're gonna move on to contour. We're gonna contour around the forehead, the high points of the cheekbone, underneath the chin. We'll do a little nose contour, and we'll even put a little bit under the lip. And we're gonna do all of that with the detail brush. This is my absolute favorite brush to contour with because you're gonna see that it has like this rectangular end and it is pretty dense. So it allows me to control the product really well. And I'm gonna come in actually on an angle. So I'm gonna tap, and I have to tap a little bit more aggressively into my contour than I did my color corrector or my main shade, because your contour is drier and it's actually meant to be drier because it's more of a strategic placement. So we wanna start at the top of our ear and follow that cheekbone. Down here is the hollow, and a lot of people go, you don't wanna contour in the hollow. You wanna find that high point of your cheekbone, kind of where it starts to roll down, and starting back by the ear, I'm gonna give the first tap here because I want it to fade really seamlessly to the front. And because I have a mature face, I'm gonna stop it at the outer corner of my eye. So all I'm gonna do is tap this along that cheekbone, and then I'm gonna flick up to blend. And I'm not gonna overblend it from the beginning. So if you're new to contour and you put on and you're like, oh, that feels like a lot, you don't have to worry about it. It's gonna sit on the face for a couple minutes. It's gonna start to warm up with your skin. And from there, you can then assess like, okay, do we want more? I want a little bit more. So I'm gonna tap in a little bit more. I'm gonna flick up. That's why only having it on this half of the brush was really helpful, because now I can use these bristles to help blend and fade that out. And there will be one magical step when we get to the perfector sponge where we're gonna marry this all together. So if you're looking at it and you're like, I feel like it's too dark, let it sit for a couple minutes and wait till you get to the perfector step. So I start up at the top of my ear, I'm following my cheekbone, stopping at the outer corner of the eye, and flicking up. And what this does is it creates that natural shadow that you have in your face, and it helps lift the face. This is where the 3-dimension part comes in. When you're used to wearing like liquid foundation or powder all over, you're used to that like one flat look all over the face. When you get to use 3D foundation and you are actually putting the darkness where we naturally have shadows and creating light in the center of the face, you're gonna notice that your skin shines and that it actually looks far more youthful by following like the contour of the face that we naturally have, just enhancing it a little bit. So I'm still using the side of my brush and I'm coming along the hairline. When I get to the top of the hairline, I am gonna flick it up into the hairline because I don't wanna have any harsh lines. And I'm gonna teach you this. If you are somebody with a mature face, you will notice that you have sinking in this area as you age. Because we're playing the game of light and dark, dark recedes, it pulls back, it's that shadow. Because this area has already begun to sink in for me, I don't put contour here because I don't want it to appear to sink in even more. So I stop my contour right before my temple. And next I'm gonna pull it down so I don't look like I have like that strap across the forehead. And one more trick for you. If you have a small forehead, you want to keep your contour up towards the top because you don't have a lot of surface area to work with. So you just create a very thin natural shadow. If you're somebody like me who has a much larger forehead, you can make this line a little bit thicker. And if you really want to work to make your forehead seem smaller, go to the arches of your brow and kind of create this triangle towards the center. And I'm being really light-handed, but I'm going to fill in this area right here just to give myself more of a focus on the center of the face. And then we'll make sure to blend. And remember, we will use our wonderful perfector sponge at the end. So if we have any harsh lines, we will blend all those out. So we have our cheek contour done, our forehead contour, and I'm going to take that same brush and I'm going to come to the back of my ear. I'm going to contour under the chin. And this will give you that illusion of the snatched jawline. Now we have a contour line here, no harsh lines, so just pull it back. And you'll notice for most people, you can see where I wore my shirt this weekend while we were hiking. So I'm a little bit lighter here. Most people are actually lighter on their neck because our chin covers our neck. So our neck is typically lighter than our chest. So that's why we want to make sure that when we put this contour down and around the jawline, and you'll find this ridge underneath your chin, just wiggle it in there, that you pull it down so that it doesn't look harsh. That's it for me, I think, there. So I'm going to show you the easiest way. Well, while we have a little bit on the brush, we'll just put a little under the chin, or under the lip here. And remember, if dark recedes, if we're pulling back, that gives the illusion of a larger lip. Now I'm going to show you the easiest way to nose contour. And here's a little thing about nose contouring. When you're contouring your nose, you want to think, do I want my nose to look larger or do I want my nose to look slimmer? For me, I already have a fairly wide nose, so I am actually going to keep my contour lines close together and on the bridge of my nose to give the illusion of a slimmer nose. If you want your nose to look wider, then you can go on the side of the bridge of the nose, and then your nose will look wider. So a slim nose that you want to look wider, you put it out here. A wider nose that you want to look slimmer, you put them down the top. Here's what I think is the easiest for a starter. Take your middle finger and tap it into your contour till you get some contour on your finger. Rub it together. And now hold your fingers together, come in between your eyes, and drag it down the bridge of the nose all the way down. And then you can just kind of flick this up into the brow. So we're creating a contour that starts in our brows and it comes down the top of the nose all the way to the end. I'm going to take a little bit more on my finger and put it underneath the nose. So now we've kind of created that upturned part of our nose here. This is only half of a nose contour, so trust the process. We are not done yet. We are going to add our brightener to finish off our nose contour, and that will help us not have these harsh lines, but also to really slim that nose in. So the last step of our 3D foundation is our brightener. So I'm going to go back to my detail brush, the small end, and I'm going to tap in one time, nice and lightly. And here's where I like to contour as somebody that has a lot of texture. When you put a light color on texture, it's going to enhance that. That's why a traditional concealer put in this large triangle under the eye with nothing underneath as we age tends to actually like make our under eyes look more crepey and makes that like fine lines and it makes those fine lines and wrinkles that are sitting there seem more pronounced. It's because as we're aging, we need to really be strategic with how we brighten the under eye. And we chose to color correct with a dark color first. Instead of going right in with this brightening shade, by using that dark color first and matching the darkest points, now we can truly just brighten up the under eye without having to worry about texture and color popping through. So I start in the inner corner and the outer corner, and then I use what I have on the brush to marry those two areas together, and then I'm going to build up from there. The other area that's really important if you have done a nose contour is to brighten the sides of your nose. So you want to come up right to the side of that nose contour line, and that's going to be what also helps slim that area. So now you'll see some areas that need a little bit of brightener are right in here. So I'm going to tap in there, and I'm just going to make sure that I have one cohesive area. I started in the inner corner, worked my way here, and now I'm bringing it all together. If you're somebody like me who has like sunspots and a little bit of that pronounced darkness still popping through, this is hyperpigmentation for me, you can take your brightener and pop that on. Now you can see the difference here with just adding the smallest amount of brightener. You can choose to brighten even more if you like a brighter under eye. Just keep building it up in these small tapping motions and really dispersing the product on the face before you add more in. We never want to swipe. In any of these situations, we never want to swipe into our creams, tap it on, and then try and disperse it throughout. You're not going to be as happy with the finish as if you go light-handed and really build up your coverage in these thin layers that you see here. And that is how we brighten under eye. So we're starting to look like we have quite a bit of makeup on, in my opinion. So like I want my makeup to look skin-like, and we're not quite there yet. So follow along, trust the process. Here's where we are also going to brighten. We're going to brighten in the T-zone. So between the brows, I'm going to bring this down in between my contour line. If you are a crazy busy mom who drinks a lot of coffee like I do and has a shaky hand, you can still do this. I'm gonna pop it right here and onto my chin, because what we're doing is we have contoured in this area to really pull this back, and now we're gonna brighten in this area to draw the light forward. So now I have to grab my perfector sponge, which I dropped on the floor, so hang tight. And we are back. So this is how you get a skin-like finish, and you really blend everything together so that it looks like skin and sits really naturally. You're gonna use your perfector sponge, and here's how you prep it. Prepping it is incredibly important because it is meant to be used damp and cold, but not wet and certainly not dry. So when I'm doing my hair in the morning, when I'm putting on my serum or my sunscreen, whatever it is, I run this under cold water, and I am going to squeeze out all of the water that's left in it, throw it in a microfiber cloth, and let it sit there. Let it dry down a little bit so that when I'm actually ready to use it, it is now, there's no water left in it at all, but it is damp and cool. And I am gonna start pouncing it onto the face everywhere that I want to remove any possible excess. And for me, it's anywhere that I crease, which is under the eyes, these are my areas of texture. I'm gonna rotate it as it starts to get warm from being on my skin. And you can see we're just marrying this brightener into the other colors. And remember, because it's cream, all of this is gonna marry together really seamlessly. And it's funny because my clients will tell me, like, I like my makeup as the day goes on. It's something about, like, as the makeup starts to wear on the skin and it really starts to all blend together because it's warming up and everything is kind of fusing, that you really get, like, the best part of your finish is like an hour after you use your makeup. So before we move on to anything else, let's assess the face one more time. Let me peek over in this mirror over here. I think we're pretty good. You know, I do think I want to add a little bit of brightener up in here, make this more, make that pop of brightness more pronounced, make sure that my contour lines are seamless. And then I am going to come back and add a little bit of my main shade with my brightener onto that scar. My scar is, it's just challenging. And I think we are good. You know, something that I forgot to do, actually I'll use the same brush, is I did color correct my eyes, but I did not put my main shade over top. And just like when we're color correcting our face, it's the combination of the color corrector and the main shade that really give me like a neutral eye, which is awesome for starting your eyeshadow, because if you've ever noticed that your eyeshadow doesn't look like true to the color in the tint, it could be because you didn't set your eye, or sorry, you didn't prime your eye. I did start off my makeup routine today with an eye primer. I should have mentioned that. I used Thank Me Later, and I can recommend a couple of really good primers for you based on whether you have like oily eyelids, whether you want one that has a tint to it. Thank Me Later is an easy one that I found on Amazon. I probably have it here. Yep, it's this guy right here, and you can get that right off of Amazon. But I did prime my eyes because if you have wrinkles, you want to make sure that you prime your eye so that you can get kind of the best skin to work with, if you will. What we're going to do now is we are going to finish up with some bronzer, some lip and cheek, and some illuminator. So let's move on to the fun part. For me, it is the bronzer and the lip and cheek. So I'm going to take the larger end of my blush bronzer brush, and like I told you, this one I am going to swirl. It's the only product that I swirl into, and I'm very, very light-handed in my swirl, so I am picking up a little bit on the brush there. Keeping this in the corner here, if you get any of your makeup on the outside, you can just wipe it off, and it doesn't go into any of the other products. All of these other products, I'm like very, very minimal tapping. Just a heads up, with the bronzer, when you first take it out of the tin and you use it, it is super, super creamy. So just know that it's easier to build up. So start really light-handed. And I'm gonna bronze in the areas of the face where the sun would naturally hit first, and it's the areas that you would get a sunburn. It's the high points up here, the high points of the cheekbone, the nose, the chin, and then this is how I make sure everything matches down my neck by adding bronzer where it's needed. But I am tapping this on very lightly to build up to the coverage that I like. Sorry, to build up to the look that I like. Bronzer does not give coverage. Bronzer is a sheer product. Where everything else in your 3D foundation up to this point has given you coverage, this is just a sheer pop of warmth. And I love bronzer. I bronze all year long. But since this is coming out in the summertime, I'm gonna bronze even more. And we bring that bronzer down the neck. And this is how we make sure that our face and our neck match. And then I am gonna bring it down this area of my chest where I did not get as much sun while we were hiking this weekend. And this is how it's all gonna match. So when you tell me like I wanna match my face to my neck, to my chest, I will tell you if a bronzer is needed to do that and which one would match your skin tone the best. And I think we are warmed up and good to go. So let's move on to our lip and cheek. Remember, these are dual purpose. This one is nude and this is La Cienega. And I'm not gonna lie, I love to mix and match my lip and cheeks based on the formulation and the color that I'm looking for. And Seint makes 3 different formulations for lip and cheek. This one is a satin, which in like traditional makeup land would be a matte. This one is a gloss, so it is far less pigmented, and I will show you here what this satin looks like. This guy is nude. Fan favorite for sure. But then let me show you La Cienega. This beautiful summer shade has a gorgeous like golden glow to it. So I'm gonna put down a satin first. You get really good color payoff with the satin. We do have a couple of glosses that are really pigmented, but they're definitely the minority. The other formulation that we have is called a semi-gloss, which is a combination of a satin and a gloss together, so you kind of get the best of both worlds. So today we are gonna do nude as our base, and I'm gonna tap in there. Or somebody with a mature face where you notice that kind of your stuff is starting to fall. That's part of the reason that we contour, and we contour up this direction to lift the face, but we want our blush to follow suit. So I like to start 2 fingers away from the nose, and if you smile, we're talking about the outside apple of the cheek as our starting point, and we're gonna follow that contour line up. And this will help lift the face. 2 fingers out. So I'm gonna follow that up my contour line, and they're gonna sit right next to each other. And then we will put some of this on the lips as well. But that is nude. It's a really nice, natural, nude looking color. Gives really good color payoff. You can definitely build it up to be heavier, and I can show you that here. If you wanted more, you can certainly just pop more on. So a little bit lighter and a little bit heavier. But I'm gonna go in with my La Cienega because I love all the glow. And you'll see with 1 tap right there how much more product I got because it was glossy. So if you ever feel like you get a lot on your brush, just swirl it around a little bit on your wrist first so that you don't have like a chunk right here on the face. And now we have a nice dewy glowing finish, and you can see hopefully that shine and that golden kind of golden glow that you get. Let's do some on the lips. I like to put a lip liner on. I'm going to use suede lip liner today. You can use your contour, your favorite lip pencil, but I'm somebody who likes to use everything out of my one palette. I'm just going to use my multitasker brush here, and I'm going to generously swipe into nude and give myself a good base color. I'm going to top this with La Cienega. And for me, that's what I am looking for. A little bit of glow and a nice glossy feeling on the lips. And now we are gonna finish off our 3D foundation with our illuminator. Now I told you, no swiping into your products, right? except for illuminator. I want you to take your perfector sponge. This is what's going to give you that final really dewy, glowy, finished look. And we are going to generously swipe in. And now you want to keep your illuminator, traditionally what would be called a highlighter, to that highest point of the cheekbone, but I like to stay away from where the majority of my texture is. So my fine lines, my crow's feet really come out here, and my eye fine lines are like all the way up to here. So I'm just gonna keep it right in this area here. And do you see how it gives that little pop of glow? So if you like the glow, you are going to love Illuminator. I'm gonna grab my finger, I'm gonna use it on Cupid's bow. Put a little bit down the nose. Playing the game of light and dark, right? Light will reflect and draw attention forward. So I'm gonna use that to really finish that off. And there we go, friends. So I just want to thank you guys for being here today and spending this time with me. I hope you found this helpful as to why cream makeup is so good for mature skin, how to do an initial application, and most importantly, how to even get started. So if you would like help with your own customized color match, you can certainly just comment match in the comments below, or reach out. I will be happy to share the information. And I thank you guys again for being here, and we will see you soon.